I'm Kayla.
I'm Anna. This is Laughs and Legacies. Welcome back to Laughs and Legacies. We've been looking forward to this episode for so long. Once we told people about it, the stories piled up. Disclaimer, this is poop stories.
So if that's going to make you a little sick, might as well flush out now.
You want to hear a poop joke? No, never mind. It's too corny.
Ew! That's disgusting! Ew. Oh, poop jokes really aren't my favorite, but they're a solid number 2.
Ah, got him! The funny thing about poop jokes is that they really make your cheeks hurt.
Ew!
Okay, I'm done now. I'm done.
Honestly, there's just so many funny stories about that, and people are weird about talking about poop stories, but it happens to everyone, so get over it. And when I left on my mission to Peru, literally everyone told me, you will not be able to go your whole 18 months without pooping your pants. Luckily, I never did, but I had some pretty close calls, I'm not gonna lie.
These poor souls are not as lucky.
Yeah, I have these stories.
Our first submission is from my fiance, Nate. He says,
I don't think you've ever, put that out there. So, yeah, guys, not only did she have a boyfriend from the beginning, but now she is engaged, so claps all around.
Getting married.
Continue.
For those of you on YouTube, there it is. That boy.
That
Anyways.
boy.
He named it Missed It by that much. So, back in the day, my parents wanted me to play all kinds of sports. They signed me up for everything just to see if I enjoyed it as much as they did. One of those sports was tennis, and I was not very good. I lost every match I played in, but I tried my best and practiced as much as I could. We had a tennis court in our neighborhood, which was about 3.5 miles away from our house. The courts were done, but the small clubhouse area and the bathrooms were still under construction. One day, while practicing, I felt like I needed to use the bathroom to poop. And with no bathrooms around, I tell my dad I'm going to run home and relieve myself. He was wrapping up his practice session and said he would walk back later, so I started to run home.
Running while needing to poop, that is not a good mix.
My run
holding your bum.
Hold on. He says my run turned into a jog, which turned into a speed walk, which turned into a slow walk as I was getting closer and closer to losing control of myself. At this point, it's knocking on the door. But as I get closer to home, I have more and more hope that I'm going to make it, and the stress fades slightly. I make it to the top of our long driveway, and now I'm feeling good. Slowly walking towards the front door, and I'm thinking to myself, I made it just in time. I get to the front door and pull on the handle to find that the door is locked. And as soon as I realized I was locked out of my house, all the hope left my body as well as everything else. I ruined my shorts right outside the front door and was forced to waddle over to the side yard and use the hose to clean myself off. I would later have to grab the hose and clean off the front steps as well.
My face hurts. Wait, give me a second. Continue.
The embarrassment I felt when crab walking over to the house is something I've never felt since. I can only find comfort in knowing that no one saw me, and my parents did not yet have a camera all over the house, all over their home. Missed it by that much.
Oh my gosh, my face hurts. That was so funny. I thought it was going to be just a close call story and he didn't actually poop himself, but that's even better.
Hey, the poop jokes do make your cheeks hurt.
Gross. Well, The next story is actually from my husband as well. This one's so funny. And I thought we had told Anna before, but we hadn't. So when he told her the other day, she was dying.
This was outrageous. I can't go. I'm sorry.
So my husband went to work one day, and the guy literally, he eats and is in the toilet like not even 5 minutes later, every single meal. It's quite impressive. I don't know how that happens. But anyways, not the point. He goes to the bathroom at work. Did his business. Grand old time. Whatever. Flushes the toilet, washes his hands, and leaves. A couple minutes later, his friend goes to the bathroom, and he had warned him before he went, and he was like, dude, I
desecrated that bathroom, man. Like,
bathroom. But he didn't realize how badly he desecrated that bathroom. Because he goes, bro, the toilet didn't flush. It is everywhere. It had overflowed, flooded the whole bathroom, and was coming out of the hallway. And my husband's like, oh my gosh, what do I do? So they used every single towel and cloth that they had in the building and wiped it all up. And I didn't hear anything. My husband hadn't called me. He didn't tell me that this had happened, but shows up at the house with a big bucket full of towels and cloth. And I'm like, what the heck is this? Why do you have this bucket? He's like, well, I need to wash them. I'm like, why are you taking home cloths from work? Like, you don't even do a job that needs cloths. He's like, and then he tells me a story. I'm like, you're kidding me. That is so embarrassing. He's like, yeah, well, whatever.
oh my.
It's like, you aren't embarrassed? I literally would have quit that day. I'd be like, bye. I just, like, flooded your building with my poop. I'm out of here.
Well, the craziest thing, too, is that they helped him.
They
I
helped-
would certainly
Never.
not help my coworkers clean up their poop. I would be like,
Mm-hmm.
we either have to burn the building down or hire professionals, because I'm not doing either.
Burn the building down.
It's over. It's over.
Yeah, no.
Oh, man. I'm just so glad he wasn't embarrassed. Like, good for him. I would die. I would simply
I would have quit.
die. The last story is from our sweet dad and his scouts. Man, he has endless stories about the scouts. One time they went on a camping trip, and I think they were all doing their own thing. My dad goes down to go camp or fish, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he went down fishing. He comes back up and he meets this other camp leader, and he tells him a story.
Well, he just had, like, this look in his eye of, like, dude, you missed out what happened up here. You know, like, you ready for this?
He says he saw one of the boys, and the young boy had blood all over him, on his hands, on his legs, just all over. And he also saw something brown as well. It was poop. This little scout covered in poop and blood. And he goes up to him and he's like, what happened?
Well, he said it looked like a crime scene. He's like, it was so bad. It looked like a crime scene. And he just had, like, his underwear holding it to the side, just covered in poop and blood.
This is the most outrageous Boy Scout thing I ever did hear. And all of the Boy Scout stories sound like this. The young boy just said, what did he say? Let's see, where is it?
He said that he had pooped his pants.
It was such a mess that he decided to use his pocket knife to cut his pants off because he didn't want to deal with it. It was such a mess. Cut his pants off.
His
and he
underwear,
cut
not his
himself.
pants.
Oh,
Yeah, just his underwear.
I'm desecrating the story, man.
Sorry.
No, my bad. But the Boy Scout used his pocket knife and cut himself, and he was bleeding.
He cut on his
Everywhere.
hand, yeah, while doing it. And so he just had blood and poop.
The wonder of Boy Scouts. He has so many stories like this with the Boy Scouts. The other one was a young boy had not been very...
He had never camped before. So, well, his parents didn't take him camping very often, but my dad didn't know this beforehand. It was just his first time camping with the Boy Scouts, and they went snow camping where they built their own snow caves. And so my dad and the other leader were helping them all, you know, build their snow caves, and it was a lot of work. Ended up, they didn't finish until super late at night. So it was dark, and so my dad and the other leader just ended up staying in a tent. They got all comfy and were finally settling down when they heard somebody outside the door. And they're like, yes. He goes, Brother Martin, I pooped myself. And they're like, what? So, like I said, he had never gone camping before. He had never learned how to poop in the woods. And so he was too scared to go try, and probably freezing because they were in the snow. And so had just pooped himself. And luckily their older brother was there to take him.
Can you imagine if, like, we were at girls' camp and then someone came into your cabin and said, can you go help Anna? She's in the woods. And
I would have been so mad. I'd be like, what the heck is wrong with you, bro?
Go help her.
Clean herself. I'd be like, bro,
Will you help me? Hey, will you help me take off my poopy underwear?
I would have helped you, but I would have been really mad about it. Luckily, we grew up camping. We know how... It's a skill. It really is a skill to poop in the woods. There's tricks. Have you ever seen those TikToks where they show you, like, the different styles of, like...
pooping in the woods, of, like, how to sit against the tree or whatever.
Or using your buddy and sit back to back. Have you seen that one? That's so nasty.
Hey, will you sit back to back?
No. I'd be like, get away from me, bro.
That's where the line is.
But yeah. Just poop stories in general, camping and pooping in the woods. Just learn. It's a skill to learn. Everyone should learn it at some point.
Hey, I think it's a perfect mix. It's beautiful. All of these things. So glad that they had extra underwear.
Yeah, that's true. Because that would be really nasty. Ooh.
How much time do we have? Because I have one more story. 11 minutes. Goodness. I got one more story then.
Yeah.
Are you ready? This one literally got me tears running down my face. And the person, my friend who told me this story, is going to be anonymous, but the way he said it is so much better than how I'm going to do it. Like, I can't do it justice. He says, I was a religious missionary serving in Africa. I wrote this story in my journal just an hour after this incident, and I wrote it in a cinematic way so that I could accurately convey the feeling that I had during this experience. The following is what I wrote. February 2nd. Today, me and my companion traveled to the Sultan, then to the Emali to receive our money at the ATM. After we had got our money, we went to the supermarket to buy our usual groceries that we can't find in Kayambeki, an African word I cannot pronounce. A small town up in the mountains, which is where we lived. We came across a restaurant that we wanted to try and decided to eat lunch there. I ate a big plate of rice, beef stew, and chapate. I think that's how you say it. I don't know.
We're probably going to butcher most of these words, so sorry.
I'm sorry, bro. I also decided to drink my 1 liter passion fruit juice box because I was extremely thirsty. This is something I would soon learn to be a fatal mistake.
Yeah.
Now traveling back home, it took us about a half an hour to get back to the Sultan. Once we were in the Sultan, we found a mutatu, which is a very large bus crammed full of people, that was heading back to Kayambeki, where he lived. This is where I began to feel churning in my stomach.
Churning. That's a great word to use.
Only 5 minutes into the drive, the mutatu decided to make a stop in a town outside of the Sultan. Both the driver and the conductor completely disappeared, leaving me and my companion around 20 other people just sitting and waiting on the bus. I was quietly waiting in my blissful ignorance of what I was about to experience. That's when I felt the chills. Chills! My mind slowly started to realize that something was wrong. We were still a 45-minute drive away from the Kayambeki, and the driver and conductor were nowhere to be seen. I sat there in that mutatu for a good 10 minutes before I began to panic. The pain came in waves, each more powerful than the last. After feeling like I could bear it no more, I stood up and demanded my companion, who is Congolese and speaks a little English, to follow me. He followed me out of the crowded bus in complete confusion. Once we stepped out, I looked around at the small town we were in. I saw people sitting in their little shops just staring at me, not a building with a bathroom in sight. I knew in that moment that there was nothing and no one that could help me. My companion then asked me what was wrong, and I turned and sternly whispered in his ear, I am about to crap my pants. Miraculously, in that moment, the driver and conductor conveniently reappeared. And so we got back in the Butatu.
For 45 minutes?
Hold on. I knew I was in serious trouble. For the next 10 minutes, the Mutatu swayed heavily back and forth
as it did put a lot of details into this.
as it inched its way along the rocky dirt road, crossing a river, then finally reaching a paved road again. To my utter horror, the Mutatu stopped in another town to let people off and more people on. I was no longer experiencing the chills. I was experiencing gut cramping pain. More people than ever before crammed themselves like sweaty sardines into the Matatu. I was tightly sandwiched between my companion and a random dude, both of which watched me with great concern. I would too. You can always tell when someone's going, when someone's churning. Another indescribably agonizing 10 minutes go by before reaching another town that I had never seen before. It was as if the universe was spitefully placing new towns where there were none before. When the Butatu stopped, I gave up on waiting to reach the apartment and stood up to run to the nearest hiding place where I could let loose. But just as I did so, countless old people slowly waddled onto the bus, blocking my escape. I yelled at the conductor, who was probably drunk and seeing two of me, let me off. Sorry, I think I read that wrong. Anyways, but he just looked at me in complete confusion as the Mutatu began to drive again. I was in complete peril, about to fill my seat. Tightly packed in this bus with the people of Kulungu Hills. My heart was actually racing. This was the final stretch, and I was hanging on by the edge of my pinky. Another 5 minutes of stopping and going, we finally reached Kayambeki. I was literally trembling when I climbed out of the Butatu. All that was between me and my apartment, that was built on the side of the mountain, was a steep climb.
Oh. How we both just on.
I expected the pain to subside as I began to speed walk, but to my astonishment, it got worse than ever before. I stopped halfway up the hill, my companion standing behind me in terror of what was about to happen. This was it. This was where it was going to happen. I channeled the inner strength of the Shaolin monk, and by the pure mercy of God, the pain subsided just enough for me to make a final bolt for the apartment. I could feel the pain about to rebound with a vengeance as I ran for my life to the metal door. With my trembling hands, I unlocked the padlock, ripped the door open, and made it to the toilet like the climax of a Mission Impossible movie. The rest was history, and a pair of pants was saved. Unfortunately, though, the story isn't over. A few months later, A few months later, I'm a few weeks away from going home. I'm hanging out with a bunch of American missionaries, all talking about their poop stories. They told me that Africa wasn't going to let me leave until I crapped my pants at least once.
I'm telling you, that everyone will get a story like this.
I told them it was too late, that I would be home before that could happen. I really thought I had it in the bag. The night before my flight back to America, I got home from dinner with friends, and I felt I needed to use the bathroom.
Night before?
It was nothing out of the ordinary, nothing urgent. I walked to the bathroom just before I reached the toilet. It just spilled out like water. No warning. Africa, indeed, did not let me leave without a token for my service.
Ew. That is so sad.
A cinematic masterpiece, if you tell me.
That was pretty amazing. I wish I wrote in my journal as beautifully as that.
Wow, that was like a Mission Impossible movie.
That was amazing. You need to tell him thank you for that story, because that was great.
Wow. Thank you, everyone, for your poop stories.
That's true, too. My face hurts now. My cheeks hurt from laughing so hard. So, I think we'll just end it on that. And we'll see you next time, guys.
Thank you, guys. Bye.